So my name is Kathy Leff, and I'm the director of the Wolfsonian, Florida International University, and we're here in a museum and research center whose interest is in the persuasive power of art and design. The museum collection is mostly focuses on the period of the late 19th to mid 20th century with the rise of the industrial age and looking at the power of the ability to mass disseminate and mass produce objects and images, how that radically modernized the world and transformed how we saw ourselves in it. We have a vast collection predominantly of North American and European materials, everything from architectural elements to this gallery that we're in, works on paper, posters, commercial arts, political propaganda, decorative arts. But we're really interested in the whole idea of design as an active agent in human affairs. We were founded by an individual, Mitchell Wolfson Jr., who was from Miami Beach. His family was in the communications business, and he really believed in using this collection as not only as a cultural resource, but as an educational tool. And so he donated this vast collection and this beautiful building that we're in to Florida International University, which is part of the state university system, because he was really interested in it serving as an educational vehicle. So one of the products of our research is obviously our exhibition program, publications, and other educational programs. And so what we're in now is our fifth floor galleries, which is really dedicated to giving people an overview of the range and scope of the collection, starting with objects of mass production, mass communication, mass transportation. We're also interested in the whole idea of during this late 19th to mid 20th century was a time of rise of mass totalitarian political systems. So the whole idea of how design was used by governments to influence the masses. We're interested in the idea of colony and empire and how culture flows, national identities, corporate identities, really the idea that design is not a benign or inert type of action, that it had an intent. And so what we try to do is look at the intention of design. So tonight we are celebrating democracy, which is the theme of our Art Basel party. Each year we do an event to welcome Art Basel to our community and to celebrate art and culture. And it's a wonderful time for us to really connect with contemporary artists. I mean, though our collection is of the late 19th to mid 20th century, we try to look at it through the lens of our own times and really wanting people to leave here with an understanding of how design shapes and reflects our lives. So behind me is an image of the Four Freedoms. That was posters that were used to sell war bonds during the Franklin Delano Roosevelt time in World War II. This was recently gifted to us by a wonderful collector, Leonard Lauder. And what we decided to do in the summer was to invite a number of contemporary artists and designers to reinterpret in today's visual language the four freedoms, which were freedom of fear, freedom from want, freedom of speech, and freedom of religion, knowing that in this time, that was a big concern. So the idea was to engage contemporary artists in rethinking what does it mean today, and if these ideas were expressed, what would they look like? And so we had 60 artists and designers who responded to our invitation, and in the lobby, you'll see works that they produced in response to our invitation. Many of them will be here tonight: Lawrence Weiner, Richard Tuttle, Chip Kidd, Wim Crowell, the great Dutch typographer, experimental jet set, Neville Brody. We have a wonderful range of artists, graphic designers, cartoonists who participated and will be here tonight. We also have installed, as part of this celebration, a piece by Francesco Vizzoli called Democracy. And that was a piece that he installed last year at the Venice Biennale, interviewing the McCain, Clinton, and Bush strategists and trying to understand how are political candidates packaged, sold, and created, and the power of the media and interest in celebrity. And so he cast Sharon Stone and Bernard-Henri Lévy, the French philosopher, as two political candidates in opposition and mounted a fake political campaign. So it really conveys everything that we're interested in, is the power of media, shaping of messages, and the idea of celebrity and political propaganda. So we had him install in a new environment a piece that he had created for Venice. So you'll see that on the front of the building, these large political posters and then the two campaign candidates literally facing off in the lobby of the museum. And then on, as temporary exhibitions, though it wasn't planned to be so timely, we have a New Deal in America, which was in 1933 to 1943. It was the most massive public works project undertaken in the United States under the Franklin Delano Roosevelt administration, intended to lift the economy, lift the nation out of the Depression, to stimulate the economy and put the country to work. And so what's interesting is now that we're in this, national and global economic crisis. I mean, one of the big themes that is being discussed by the President-elect Obama is the need for a New Deal. So it's sort of timely that our collection really can speak about this time when the nation really was in the last in a very severe economic crisis, and how the government stepped in to stimulate the economy. And there was a wonderful component to that really put artists to work. All these new public work, new buildings were built, highways, roads, a lot of the National Park Service in the United States, post offices, federal courthouses, school systems, and a component to that had murals. So artists played a big role in that. And through their art, they were being asked to convey the American ideals and celebrate the diversity of America, labor, and all of that. So we have a temporary show called The Bittersweet Decade, the New Deal in America. Another temporary show right now is Streamline in American Design. Also, interestingly, and these exhibitions are planned well in advance, years in advance, emanated also out of the Depression. It was America looking forward, its optimistic spirit, and developing a new aesthetic that would look progressive and optimistic toward the future. So this really, what's so interesting about this exhibit for us is that the South Beach Architectural District is in the Streamline aesthetic, and it gives us a chance to not only look at how this new aesthetic entered into mainstream American culture, entering first in the bathroom and the kitchen and through the rest of domestic life into the work environment, labor, and recreation, but also how in our own natural environment in which we're located, it is reflected in the architecture of our community. So it's a nice opportunity to connect the object to the bigger architectural object. And then we have a special tribute that we're doing this month and opens tonight and will continue for the next couple of months, is a celebration of the Dutch graphic designer and typographer Wim Crowell, who just turned 80, and we asked him to we have a very strong collection of early modern Dutch graphic arts, and probably the largest in the United States or the largest outside of the Netherlands. And we asked him to take a look at our collection and see how work then inspired his own work. So it's a combination of his and ours, then and now, and really trying to show the connection of the works in our collection to contemporary design and art practice, and the fact that these objects still speak to ideas and that artists are still agents of change and still continue to influence and express themselves in ways that shape and change our lives.
Show.